During the Triassic, the Madygen Formation would have been situated in a relatively low-latitude region, closer to the equator than its present-day location. The climate was generally warm and arid, characterized by seasonal variations and periodic droughts. The region consisted of a variety of habitats, including terrestrial, freshwater, and transitional environments. The formation also reveals evidence of an abundant and diverse fauna, some reptiles and a lot of insects. Regarding the ecological role of Rhabdocupes, it is believed to have been primarily herbivorous, feeding on decaying plant material or living vegetation. Gigatitan was a mantis-like predator, with forelegs that have similarly enlarged and bore spines for prey capture. It had dark, transverse stripes on its wings. Also, its wings were able to produce flashes which works only during day, and possibly it can substantially reduce predation from predators. These characters suggesting that Gigatitan is diurnal predator. One distinguishing feature of Lonchidion and other Saurichthyids was their long and tooth-filled jaws. These jaws were filled with sharp, needle-like teeth, suggesting that it was a carnivorous fish that likely preyed on smaller aquatic organisms. Saurichthys inhabited various aquatic environments during the Triassic, including both marine and freshwater ecosystems. They were likely widespread and inhabited a range of habitats, from coastal regions to inland waters. Saurichthys was well adapted to hunting in these environments, utilizing its speed and agility to capture prey. The tightly interlocking osteoderms along the back of Croniosuchians were likely an adaptation to terrestrial locomotion. The plates made the vertebral column more rigid, allowing it to better cope with stresses from shearing and torsion. In Madygenerpeton, the increased flexibility of the trunk may have been an adaptation to a secondarily aquatic lifestyle. Kyrgyzsaurus is known only from the holotype specimen, which includes the anterior part of the skeleton including the skull, cervical and anterior dorsal vertebrae, ribs, pectoral girdle and skin imprints. Thus, it represents the oldest known drepanosaurid. It was also the first Asian drepanosaurid genus to be named. The most striking feature of Longisquama is its elongated, feather-like structures that extend from its back. Originally, these structures were interpreted as true feathers, suggesting a possible link between Longisquama and the evolution of feathers in dinosaurs and birds. However, subsequent studies and analyses have led to different interpretations. Current evidence suggests that the feather-like structures of Longisquama were not true feathers, as seen in birds, but rather a unique and elaborate display structure. They are thought to have been composed of elongated scales that were modified for display purposes, possibly used in courtship or to deter predators. It is believed to have been arboreal or semi-arboreal, meaning it likely lived in trees or spent a significant amount of time climbing. Sharovipteryx had elongated hind limbs and unique wing-like structures. These structures, known as pterosaurian leaping structures, were formed by elongated ribs and a membrane of skin. This adaptation is believed to have allowed Sharovipteryx to perform gliding or leaping locomotion. The exact lifestyle and diet of Sharovipteryx are still subjects of scientific debate. Given its adaptations for leaping and gliding, it is thought to have been an arboreal reptile, spending much of its time in trees. It is hypothesized that Sharovipteryx may have used its gliding ability to escape predators, reach food sources, or explore new habitats. While the Balabansai Formation primarily represents a marine environment, there may have been some coastal areas and nearby land masses that supported terrestrial life. Ferganoceratodus was a relatively large lungfish, reaching sizes comparable to some of the largest lungfish species known. It had an elongated and cylindrical body shape, with paired pectoral and pelvic fins that allowed it to maneuver in aquatic environments. The absence of clear lines of arrested growth and annuli in long bones suggests that the animals lived in an environment with stable local conditions. Kokartus is thought to have been neotenic. It is thought to have fed using suction feeding via the enlargement of the buccal cavity on small fish and invertebrates. The poorly known genus Ferganobatrachus, named in 1990 from Sharovipteryx, is probably synonymous with Gobiops. The shell was likely solid and relatively flat, allowing Xinjiangchelys to move through aquatic environments with relative ease. Ferganosaurus is believed to have been a medium-sized herbivorous dinosaur, belonging to the group of long-necked, four-legged sauropods. These dinosaurs had quite massive bodies, long necks, and long tails. They were known for their ability to browse on vegetation at elevated heights due to their elongated necks and small heads. The Bissekty Formation in the Cretaceous period was a diverse ecological landscape. It consisted of a thriving marine ecosystem. Coastal regions and lagoons supported ferns, cycads, and conifers, attracting herbivorous dinosaurs and their predators. The warm climate facilitated the proliferation of tropical and subtropical flora and fauna. Sea level fluctuations and climatic variations influenced species composition and distribution. Linuparus lobsters are solitary, hiding in crevices during the day and foraging at night. They are territorial and exhibit aggressive behavior when threatened. Reproduction involves females carrying and protecting eggs on their pleopods until they hatch into larvae. Linuparus lobsters contribute to coral reef ecosystems and play a role in maintaining biodiversity. Heterodontus is a genus of sharks known as bullhead sharks or horn sharks. They have a stout body, flattened head, and horn-like spines. These bottom-dwelling sharks are found in coastal regions worldwide. They possess heterodont teeth with different shapes for different functions. Heterodontus sharks are nocturnal predators that feed on small fish, crustaceans, and mollusks. They often wedge themselves into crevices for protection. While Hybodus is considered an early representative of sharks, they share some characteristics with modern sharks, such as their cartilaginous skeletons and streamlined body shape. Their presence in the fossil record provides valuable insights into the evolution and diversification of ancient shark species. They had two types of teeth, sharp, pointed ones in the front for seizing prey and flat, crushing teeth towards the back for grinding. This dental adaptation suggests a diet that included a variety of small marine organisms like fish, cephalopods, and crustaceans. One of the distinguishing features of Cretaceous was its teeth. They had large, triangular-shaped teeth with serrated edges, similar to the teeth of modern great white sharks. These teeth were well adapted for catching and consuming a wide range of prey, including fish, marine reptiles, and other sharks. Due to the limited fossil record of Scaponyrhynchus, many aspects of their biology, such as their reproductive behavior, remain uncertain. However, their unique physical characteristics and feeding adaptations suggest that they occupied a specialized ecological niche as deep-sea predators, like the modern goblin shark. Ischoriza had a dorsoventrally flattened body, which is characteristic of batoids. It had large pectoral fins that extended from the sides of its body, allowing for graceful swimming and maneuverability in the water. These fins also likely aided in generating lift and propulsion. One notable feature of Myledophis was its flattened body shape, similar to modern stingrays. It had a round or oval-shaped body with a ventrally placed mouth, indicating a bottom-dwelling or benthic lifestyle. The body was covered in small, diamond-shaped scales that provided protection and streamlined swimming. Atractosteus are powerful predators and opportunistic feeders. Their diet consists of a wide range of prey, including fish, amphibians, reptiles, and even small mammals. They are often considered top predators in their ecosystems. These fish are known for their ability to breathe air due to their modified swim bladder, which acts as a lung. There is uncertainty about Tadzikosuchus at the genus level. Another genus of crocodile from the same locations of Uzbekistan that it is known from is Xorazm. This one has been speculated to be a synonym of Tadzikosuchus, but the limited fossil remains of Xorazm have so far made it impossible to prove this theory. In 2019, Alifanov and Savelyev redescribed the brain case, noting that Bissekty Formation had a well-developed olfaction, poor hearing and eyesight, good taste sensitivity, omnivorous diet and the unusual ability for filter feeding. Also, the brain structure of Bissekty Formation is rather primitive compared with other ankylosaur species. Asiaceratops, like all ceratopsians, was an herbivore. During the Cretaceous, flowering plants were geographically limited on the landscape, and so it is likely that this dinosaur fed on the predominant plants of the era, ferns, cycads, and conifers. It would have used its sharp ceratopsian beak to bite off the leaves or needles. Turonian was not a transitional form, but instead actually represented a sister group of ceratopsian dinosaurs, more distinct than primitive forms, yet distinct from ceratopsids. Paleontologists recognized 5 other species in Asia. Gilmoriasaurus was a mid-sized hadrosauroid dinosaur, the kind that was very similar to hadrosaurid dinosaurs though not quite one, being slightly more primitive. Though more primitive, however, it still lived at the same time as the more advanced hadrosaurids, showing us the more primitive forms were not immediately displaced by their more developed descendants. In 2003, evidence of tumors was discovered in fossilized Bactrosaurus skeletons. Rothschild tested dinosaur vertebrae for tumors using computerized tomography and fluoroscope screening. Several other hadrosaurids also tested positive. Although more than 10,000 fossils were examined in this manner, the tumors were limited to Bactrosaurus. The tumors may have been caused by environmental factors or genetic propensity. Levnosovia is known from the minority of the skull and would have reached around 50 centimeters in length. Xeriditanes is the only sauropod found in the formation. It was quite small for a sauropod. It is known only by some vertebrates. Ulabigsaurus was named from a partial maxilla, the tooth-bearing bone of the upper jaw. Like other carcharodontosaurid dinosaurs, it would have had blade-like teeth specifically adapted for slicing flesh as opposed to crunching through bone. Sauropod and large ornithopod dinosaurs may have been the easiest prey. Timerlengia is so far known from only fragmentary remains that suggest a size of about 3 to 4 meters long for this dinosaur. However, these remains are also from a subadult, meaning that fully grown adults would have at least been a little bit larger than this estimate. It would have been a hunter of smaller to medium-sized dinosaurs, and likely had long the leg proportions that are commonly seen in smaller tyrannosaurs. It used low calls to communicate within the species. Xeronix is known from a series of disassociated but well-preserved postcranial material. Archaeornithomimus was a medium-sized ornithomimosaur. Solid evidence coming from other ornithomimosaurian relatives suggests that it was a feathered animal, with very ratite-like feathers and equipped with a keratinous beak. Chenagnathesia is the smallest known oviraptorosaur and one of the smallest non-avian dinosaurs. It would presumably have resembled other oviraptorosaurs, which were feathered, bird-like dinosaurs with beaked skulls, long necks, and long limbs. Itomyrus is a genus of dromaeosaurid dinosaur that so far is only known from very incomplete fossil remains. Urbacodon is truly an international genus, not so much by its geographic distribution, but because the team involved were from many different countries. The Urbac in its name is an acronym that recognizes the Uzbek, Russian, British, American and Canadian nationalities of those involved. Horus mavis was thought to be an ancestor of modern rails and cranes and extinct terror birds, which is not only ridiculous because those two groups aren't closely related, but also ridiculous because those groups evolved after the end Cretaceous extinction. Catanolemus appears to be a mid-sized enantiornithine, perhaps 20 to 25 centimeters long in life. The morphology of the bone is rather plesiomorphic compared to contemporary enantiorniths. Kizilkumaves is known only from a tiny fragmented fossil, so whether or not it is an opposite bird is rather circumspect. Xeroornis has two species for some ungodly reason, both only known from parts of the hip and some other skeletal fragments. Despite this limited material, its classification has been shunted around from group to group, though for now it rests in Uranoths. Abivornis is known from a single broken bone that appears like that of an enantiornithine, and given the time period that's a decent assessment, but beyond that very little is known about this animal. Encolornis had small coracoids, with one of the species originally assigned to Enantiornis before being placed in Encolornis for some reason. Given the limited remains, it's difficult to say much more about this genus. Azdarco is the center for the Azdarchid line of pterosaurs. They are known for having long necks, the result of neck vertebrae that are longer in other pterosaurs. These long necks are thought to have enabled pterosaurs like Azdarco to live like modern storks. This would mean it either taking up position in the shallows and stalking fish, or walking through long grass and snapping up lizards.